So as you can see, we've got multiple levels, and what we're going to do, we're going to start at the ground level. All right, and on the ground level, and subsequently on each floor, as we talked about in the introduction to the lecture, we've got all these rooms. All these things have been placed for you because today this isn't about drawing something in Revit. This is about scheduling something. Or scheduling things. And we're going to start today by working with room schedules, or we're going to build a room schedule. Well, how do you go about building a schedule? Well, over here in the project browser, down here under schedules and quantities all, what we want to do is right click, and while we're there, we want to take a new schedule or quantity. Let's click on that. And you can see right now in the filter list that everything is shown, right? All different systems are shown. But we're right now we can sorry about that, ladies, uncheck all these other entities, and now we're just using architecture, right? And it narrowed it down. So while we have architecture checked, let's go down and we say we want to make a room schedule, right? So I'm going to click on room schedule and I'm going to say okay. And as soon as I do that, what it's doing is it's saying, okay, you want to do a room schedule. What do you want to know about these rooms? And what it's giving me are all of these parameters, and that's what these are. We're going to go back to families and talk about parameters and families. We've done massing and we've done some basic family creation already, but we're going to go back and we're going to look at families again a little later, and we'll talk a little bit more about parameters and how we create them. And here is a place where we combine parameters. We won't be using any of these right now, but we will go back and create parameters with families later. But these parameters are already created for. So when we think about a room and the things we want to know about a room, if I'm going to take 5 things that I really want to know initially about a room, or 4 things, we'll start with 4 and move to a 5th. What about having a name, right? And once I put it there, I click, notice that green arrow is alive, and I can add the parameter. I can also use this red one to take that parameter away. And we talked a little bit about schedules in lecture 6 or 7, I believe it was, but now we're going to get a lot further. We're going to get a lot more advanced with it. So we want to know a name. We want to know a number, right? Something we also probably want to know is the department, right? Because we've got some different names, different departments. So we'll bring that over. And then we probably want to know the size of the room, and the size here, probably the area is something we're going to want to be familiar with, right? And once we have all those in there and we hit OK, now we have a room schedule, okay? And if you look at the room schedule, it seems right now there's no real rhyme or reason about the room schedule. And what do I mean by that? Well, we've got names, numbers, departments, and areas. And you look at what it says. When it says department, right, it's saying that this is office space. The restrooms, it has this as common space, and then it has a store as well. And then these elevator lobbies have nothing really associated with them as far as a department. But we could associate them and say, yeah, these are common spaces, right? So I wanted you to see how you can kind of adjust certain things on the fly, but other things you can't adjust on the fly, if that makes sense. Because you can't change the area of any of these rooms from the schedule. You have to do that in the model. Now, the same is true. You can change the number here, but you really don't want to change this information unless you really have to. You can also change the name of some of those spaces, but again, you really don't want to do that in the schedule at this period of time. It's possible, but you want to do some more organization first. So as I pull out some of these just so I can see the entire name. You saw how little they were kind of covered up. It's nice to be able to adjust these as you go, right? And so now we can see we have all these names of spaces, all these numbers, but we really don't have any kind of rhyme or reason in here to how these are arranged right now. So one of the things we can do is we can go to this thing in the properties dialog box. Let's click on the fields. Again, these are our fields. It might make sense for some of us to say, well, maybe we want the number to go next first. And so now, as soon as I click that live, I want you to see that one more time. You see how none of these are available, but as soon as I click on number, look how I can move the parameter up, or I can drop it back down. So I want to move it up, right? And I don't have an apply button, so I just have to say okay, and now numbers on the other side, just like that, right? So how else might I want to break those up? I'm going to stop the video so we can talk about something just for a moment. Okay, so what we talked about during the quick break we took, if we click on the fields again, right? And then we go over, we'll skip over filtering by now because we could filter by number, right? But I want to come back to the filter feature later. So I'm going to go back to none. But under sorter and grouping, I can say sort the what? The number field in ascending or descending order, right? And then I could also click this header, and watch what happens when I do that. It puts a header in between each one of them. Now, I don't necessarily need that, but you can see how it kind of put a header in there. I don't really need that. We might go back and use that for something else later, right? So when I go back here, I can click off of that and hit OK, and then I've got those in that order. Now I want to look at a different field. So I can look at the name. I've got the numbers in order that I want them in right now. But then I can say, let's go in and go to fields, and let's go to sorting and grouping. And let's say, if we're going to sort them by number, right? Then it says, then sort them by, if I say sort by name, ascending, right? Look what happens. Nothing, right? Nothing really happened. And the reason nothing really happened is because when I'm in here, what I have first is going to take precedent, right? Even if I click here and hit OK, nothing changes because in this first portion of it, the ascending is what takes precedent, okay? It takes precedence. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to let you get a chance to get in and get to this first part of where we're at. Of course, I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go Save As and Save Project. And I'm going to save this, whoops, sorry. I'm going to save this with my initials so that I can submit it later, much like you want to save it. But I want you to go in, go ahead and download the file, and then let's take a look at this very first part and see if we can get the schedule made and then get the first row of it sorted, right? So we'll want to get number, name, department, area, and then we can look at the possibility we have here of sorting and grouping in ascending order by number, right? If we did descending order, flip it around and go the other way. But we don't want to do that. I can go ahead and undo that step because I want it from the lowest number, which is 000, which typically we won't use for a room, but I just did because of the way I did the levels here. All the way down to the basement, I'm sorry, yeah, the basement areas, the stairs, and the store and the warehouse for the store as well. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stop this video, and then I'll stop the actual class video and give you a chance to get caught up.